Alright, what is up everybody? Welcome to another Spotlight video. We haven't done one of these in a little while, so I thought it might be time to bring this back. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Suzaku APC deck. So named because the original variant, the most popular variant, was made very, very famous and popular by Suzaku. He's the one who grinded with it on the ladder a ton, made it a really popular deck, so the deck got named after him, even though he didn't really create it. Originally the deck was like a Mav Mitchell creation with slight changes, and Suzaku tuned it and made it popular. Okay, so let's take a look at the variations of this deck. The first one is, of course, the classic Suzaku APC, and this is the best variation in my opinion. I think this build is actually the best by quite a lot, honestly. But it is the standard Strong Arm, Rifle Missile, Pitbull, APC, Drone Swarm, and Orca. So this is a pretty standard deck. The reason you play Strong Arm is just because you don't really want any other commander in the deck. Jackson, there's not enough to Jackson boost. The only things you'd boost are like Pitbull and Orca. Solomon can be okay, actually, but it can be quite expensive. You want to spend most of your money on APCs, so you don't really want enough money left over for Solomons. And Liang, obviously, is kind of in the dumpster now, sadly. I do think this deck was very good with Liang back when Liang was super broken, but now Strong Arm is just the best commander. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about how this deck plays. Obviously, you open Rifleman, that's your scout unit, and then you transition into either War Factory or Air Tower, depending on what your opponent does. If your opponent goes Vehicles or Aircraft, you go War Factory. If your opponent goes Heavy Infantry, that's the only time you want to go into that Air Tower early. The Drone Swarm is there to kill heavy infantry. That's its job. It's to kill heavy infantry like mutants and chems that don't shoot back. So you only go air tower against those things. The primary function of the deck is to get an APC onto the middle of the map and then protect it. You protect it with drone swarms, pitbulls, and orcas. Generally speaking, you only use the orca to kill tanks, Giga Cannon, and MLRS, and big tech units that you can't kill any other way, so like Titans and Rockworms, Avatar, Mammoth, that kind of thing. But usually the orca and the drone swarm are just support units, and you only use them in specific scenarios. Most of the time you're going to be making APC and defending it with Pitbull. Occasionally missiles and rifle when you haven't got enough money. Alright, so there's some variations on the deck. The most common one is simply swapping the Drone Swarm and the Orca into Talon and Mohawk. This makes you slightly worse against tanks, MLRS, Giga, because it's harder to kill those with a Mohawk than it is with an Orca if they're defended properly. Because Orca will one-shot them, you just need to sneak it in, whereas a Mohawk has to stand there and fight, so Mohawk has a bad time. But it's better against air units, so it's slightly better against, you know, like bomber decks and tech air, because you have the Talon that fights air-to-air. It does lose a little bit of power against that heavy infantry, though, because the Talon is a little weaker against them. It's still okay, but it is a little weaker, and you lose the ability to throw drone swarms at pads at the end of a missile, which can be very important to stall. Talon is a lot worse at stalling pads because it goes down quicker than Drone Swarm, due to the fact that Drone Swarm has 5 models. So it survives a Phantom Volley, it survives a Stealth Tank Volley. Talon does not survive these things, so Talon goes down a lot quicker. Alright, the final variation today I'm going to talk about is the Orca Bomber Hammerhead variant with Liang. This one, not so good anymore because Liang's kind of bad, Borka's kind of bad now. But it is a variation of the deck. It used to be a lot stronger. The idea behind this was that you'd set up the APC as normal, but then when your opponent brought many units to counter it, which normally is what happens, people don't usually send one unit to fight an APC, because APCs beat most things 1v1. Normally your opponent would send like a big group of units to take out the APC and the missiles that spawn from the APC, and then you'd send a Borka in to take them out. And then obviously you play Hammerhead because you want air superiority with your Orca Bomber. Alright, so that's a few variations of the APC and a little bit of how the APC deck works. Mostly the primary variant there, because that's the one I'm most familiar with. Let's talk a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses of this deck. Okay, so some of the strengths of this deck is very good against heavy infantry, such as Chem Warriors. Chem Warriors, Snipers, you know, like your big beefy infantry. It even does okay against Zones and Cyborgs, because you have Rifles and Drone Swarm. Drone Swarm is surprisingly effective against Cyborgs and Zone Troopers. It's not as good against mutants. It's still good against Grens. Grens are not a match for APC, but mutants will beat an APC 1v1. So mutants can be a bit of a problem. But you do have that drone swarm, so it's pretty strong against heavy infantry. Next I've got here Fanatics. Just to be clear, I don't mean I don't mean it just Fanatics. What I mean is like the standard Fanatic deck, like the Fanatic Aggro Stank Shade deck. That deck is pretty bad against APC, because it takes so long for them to kill an APC that you can just put another one into position before the first one dies. That deck, everything is quite low hit points and high damage, so you can absorb their damage with your APC and then kill them whilst they're reloading. So it's pretty good against that deck. If they're playing a Scorpion version, it's a lot worse, but if they're playing the standard variant with Shade and Stank, then this deck is very good against that. It's also very strong against light aircraft, so there's a lot of light air decks running around at the moment. Things like Catship decks, Drone Swarm decks, Talon decks, these are all very common right now. Even things like Mohawk, Orca, pretty much anything up to the bombers in the air tower, this deck is very good against. Because the APC, again, the APC has so many hit points that it tanks anything, whilst Pitbulls can kill all aircraft. The only things that it doesn't work against are Orca Bomber, Inferno, and the Tech aircraft. And then finally, I've got Pitbull here. Again, I don't mean just Pitbull, I mean light vehicles. So the Pitbull is just a symbolizes light vehicles. So low hit point vehicles tend to do pretty badly against this deck. Because again, it's all about the APC. The APC absorbs so much damage that you can kill whatever's attacking the APC before it can kill the APC. Because the APC absorbs so much damage. So all light vehicles like Rhino, Pitbull, Buggy, all of these light vehicles really struggle with the APC deck. Attack bikes as well. Like, it's just really hard to crack an APC with these light vehicles. Alright, let's talk about what it's weak against. So the first thing, and one of the biggest things it's weak to, is the 2-range anti-vehicle War Factory units. So Giga Cannon and MLRS. Both of these things kill the APC very quickly. MLRS needs 2 volleys. Giga obviously charges up on the APC and then burns everything around it as well. So these are really scary units for you. This is one of the main reasons you have Orca in the deck, because you have to kill these things. And you have to do it with a flying unit, or if you want to have a chance. The next thing the deck is weak to is tanks, so Scorpions and Predators. Tanks kill APCs reasonably quickly. They're one of the few units that can actually do that in a reasonable time frame. So tanks are a bit of an issue for the deck. Usually if your opponent has tanks, it's not as easy a ride. You can't just make a ton of APCs. This again is why the Orca is in the deck, and also why I think the Orca is so much better than the Mohawk, because you want to kill those tanks ASAP. You don't want to let them stand and fight against your APC because they'll kill it. So you want them to just be dead as soon as possible. The next thing it's weak to is Tech aircraft. You only have missiles and Pitbull, so Basilisk and Kodiak can be a huge problem for you. If you play the Talon version, then this is less of a problem, but you have other problems instead by playing the Talon version. I do think the Drone Swarm version is better, but yeah, these Basilisk and Kodiaks can be a bit of a problem. It's quite difficult to take them down with just missiles and Pitbulls. You can also move the APC up, and then obviously you have missiles spawn next to the unit, which is nice, but they are quite tough. And then the final weakness is bombers. So I've only got the Orca Bomber pictured here, but the Inferno as well. The Orca Bomber and the Inferno, both of these are a problem for the APC deck. Orca Bomber less so now that it's been nerfed, but it does still will kill an APC and the missiles with a single volley if you stay on top of the APC. Inferno is more of a problem. Inferno, I think, is a much better unit than Borka right now. And yeah, Inferno will 2-shot the APC, and usually the fire will kill the missiles that come out as well. So it's a pretty clean answer. And again, the Inferno will also beat Pitbulls and missiles 1v1. But again, if you can play the Talon version, if you play Talon or Hammerhead version, then those are not going to be as big a problem for you. But once again, I do think the Drone Swarm version is the better version. Okay, so there we talked about a few variants, and we've talked about strong and weak against. We're now going to go into a crate challenge. So I'm going to do a crate challenge with the standard APC deck, and I'm going to show you guys how to play it. Alright, see you in a minute.
3, 2,
Okay,
1.
so we want to open rifles with the APC deck. We're up against Solomon, which means one of two things. Solomon either means opponent is playing very aggressive, cheap deck, or opponent is playing like quadruple tech and is used to only playing tech mirrors, so wants to have a commander power that's good versus tech. Based on the fact he's opened Rhino, I'm leaning towards quadruple tech, wants to fight tech. Now, a Buggy you can beat with a missile and a rifle, a Rhino you can't. So I made one missile just to start fighting it and get it a little bit chipped down. But then we'll immediately transition into Pitbull. We don't want to just keep throwing missiles at Rhinos because they don't win. So it's a bad trade to make. I've been happy enough with him charging the missile as well, because I'm predicting that he is a double harvester player, or at least he intends to be double harvester as the game goes on. So we're going to block out the pitbull here. Oh wow, I did get the block there. What a nightmare. Alright, bring the rifle over here and bring the pitbull in to help fight. We'll take the missile here. Whoop, block. Block, 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 block. There we go, there's the block. Alright, so we're going to fire the first missile. We're at 104. Not the best, not the worst. Now, the opponent made a lot of units. I think it's unlikely he's got 2 harvesters yet. Yeah, there's only 1. He's gone MLRS now as well, which is very weird if he's double halve. You don't normally see MLRS in double halve. So now I'm thinking maybe he's not double halve and he's actually like it's like a straight war factory deck or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, Orca is going to be insane. Orca is always really, really good versus MLRS type decks. So we're obviously going to go Orca here. Hopefully my missiles finish that off. Yep, cool. And now we're just going to wait and see what he does. Get some more missiles because they're cheap. And bring the Orca down. Every time the Orca's reloaded, I want to go kill something with it. He hasn't shown us any infantry yet. He's got a barracks. Yep, there we go. We haven't actually built any infantry yet. I'll put turret down here. The game should be over. There's no way he breaks through this. Yeah, I mean, he just can't get through my wall to get to either of my back pads. So yeah, pretty straightforward win there.
Mission accomplished. 3, 2, 1. New objective.
Alright, so we'll go rifles first again. We're up against strong arm. Strong arm usually means not a tech deck. It's very unusual to see strong arm in tech decks. But obviously, you never know. You never know for sure. We're going to wait here where we are charging the missile and can see his base. Yeah, he's gone double harvester. Alright, so we're going to go second rifle immediately. And we're going to use the first rifle to block the harvester from getting to the tip. I'm just going to dance back and forth until he does something. So there's the barracks. Probably going to be shocks. I think he's double half. Going to go third rifle. In case he does shock, I want to have 2 rifles to fight it. Alright, he just randomly turrets. I'm just going to ignore the turret and keep blocking. And there's the shocks I was expecting. Okay, no problem. So we fire the first missile almost as quickly as is possible. We're going to grab an APC and put it in the middle of the map.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
And there's some jump jets. Probably going for my harvester. Want to definitely keep charging. His second harvester is now actually harvesting. And he's gone War Factory Pitbull. So we're going to make our own Pitbull. And basically the aim of the APC deck is to make an APC and then punish people for trying to kill the APC. So as you see here, as he's shooting my 3,300 hit point unit, I kill his Pitbull with my Pitbull. That's kind of the job of the APC. It just sits in the front and it tanks. And if the opponent ever wants to kill your units, they have to kill the APC first. Or they have to take a bunch of damage from the APC while fighting it. Alright, so here comes second missile. We're just going to grab a drone swarm in case this Pitbull dies. Move the APC to block the shots, and that should be game over. Alright, cool.
Defense lost.
Not sure why that guy was double halving with strong arm. That's very unusual. Suck it. From professional beating. Excellent. Excellent. I big fan of this. I'm not sure what it is I'm supposed to suck, but I guess it's it. Okay, let's see what deck Suck It is playing. We've gone War Factory opening, kind of expecting a buggy here. Bikes. Alright, so we're going to go missiles. He's going straight for my half. This guy knows how to win a game of Rivals. Alright, so we're going to get the missiles and the rifles to fight the buggy. You'll see the difference, hopefully, in this fight between the fight, compared to the fight against the Rhino. Hopefully you'll see, yeah, you see the buggy is almost dead. It's actually going to die. Yeah, so the buggy actually dies, whereas the Rhino was able to reasonably comfortably beat a missile squad plus a rifleman. Alright, so we need to bring these missiles up. Want the missile support against the bikes for sure. Yeah, even this one missile will actually be pretty useful against the bikes. Okay, so we need to get that guy around. He's going to die, we'll get a new Pitbull in. We want to go missiles next, because he's just going to spam bites. Alright, there we go. So once we get the missiles into location, we should win the missile pretty easily. This is kind of what you want to do at the end of missiles. Once you have control of the area, and your opponent is simply throwing units at the pads over and over, like not even necessarily good matchups, just like soft counters like that. So like Bike versus Pitbull. If you can get a missile trooper in there, you normally win that missile. Missile trooper is very good once you get it set up near the end of a missile. Because the problem with missile troopers is they're very easy to run away from. But if it's the end of the missile, you have no choice but to fight them. Alright, so this guy really wants to get a tick tank on my harvester. Obviously, I'm less keen for that to happen. I'm gonna use an orca to take it out. It's actually insane. I've played so many games of Rivals now, and I still can't believe how desperately people want to kill Harvester. Like, almost every player I play against wants to kill Harvester more than they want to win the game. Almost every single one. It's so rare to find someone who's interested in winning the game more than killing the Harvester. And there you go. He just, like, the game is over. He came nowhere near winning either missile, but he did get the Harvester. He even, at the end of the game, is, like, desperately trying to finish off the Harvester. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, but there you go.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, up against AO34. So Oksana doesn't really give us any information. Oksana can be almost anything. Barracks opening also doesn't really give us much information. The main information we get from a rifle opening is that our opponent probably knows what they're doing. Because generally speaking, a lot of competent players play rifle openings. And people who play like laser shock or laser flame or missile shock opening tend to not be as aware. Alright, so we do win this rifle war. He's going double harvester, so we're gonna get on this pad. Right, now he's not killing my guy. I don't know if that's intentional. We'll send him over to the Tiberium. And we'll push these guys up. No need to tech switch here until our opponent does something. So we'll fire this missile ASAP. There's a chuggy. Alright, so we're gonna go Orca. This guy will die. The Orca should come in and take out the chuggy though. Yep, there we go. And we should fire the missile now. Yep, there it is. So 1 minute 7. Pretty slow, honestly. A little bit disappointing. But he did use a chuggy and a boost. So he spent like 90 Tiberium to get that extra stall. I'm not sure how it works out. I don't know if that's worth it for me. I think it is. I think 90 Tiberium for like the few seconds of stall he got actually favors me more than him. Alright, so he goes Phantom Laser Drone. We're going to send in the Pitbull. I want to try and chase down this Phantom because it's worth a lot of money. If we can kill this Phantom, it's a lot of cash that he's lost effectively because it's 100 Tiberium. Oh, don't kill my Orca, please. No, run away, Orca. Oh, I'm going to lose the Orca. Absolute nightmare. One more shot. All I needed was one more shot. Oh, I didn't lose the Orca. That's pretty cool. Alright, so let's see if we can kill off this AP. Let's see if we can kill off this Harvester. Okay, so he's got mutants. I've got APC fighting one of them, which isn't going to do great. That's why I popped the turret as well, because the APC won't do great against mutant. Currently, we have pretty good matchups across the board, though. We're going to kill this mutant, put this chuggy, put this drone storm over here, block out this chuggy. We should just win. Yeah, we do. Cool. Obviously, the longer the game goes, the more it favors our opponent once he's double halved.
Mission accomplished. 3, 2,
Okay.
1. New objective
Up against
available.
JP Breezy. I'm going to get rifles and go and have a look at the pads. So Jackson gives a little bit more information than Oksana. I think Oksana's a little bit more versatile than Jackson. Like, there's definitely more Oksana decks than Jackson decks.
Ready.
There's a lot of people just play strong arm instead. Jackson probably means like a War Factory based deck or a tech unit of some description. The fact he's now opened missiles means it's even more likely to be tech. Yep, there it is. Because if he's opening missiles, he's probably playing Missile Shock Trooper as his 2 infantry units, which makes it even more likely that he's tech. Surprised not to have seen a Shock Trooper yet. We should just be able to fire this first missile. He's gone straight into drones. Alright then. So we're going to split up our units and immediately respond to the drones with Pitbull. And we're going to fire the missile at 47 seconds. So I think that's just almost, that might be like 1 second slower than the fastest possible. But yeah, basically as quick as we can. Gonna keep chipping away at these drone swarms. He's not stalling the missile here, which is why I'm not focusing down the one-man squad, because I don't care. Like, if he's not going to stall the missile, then I'm happy as well. Alright, now Mohawk comes out. This will obviously beat Pitbull 1v1. So I'm going to have my Pitbull hang out with my APC, because I'll win the 2v1. With the APC support, I'll win against the Mohawk. As you see, here the Mohawk comes in, it fights them both. Even with boost, it just gets wrecked. And then we'll move the APC up here to tank and send in both the pit boots. This is kind of the point of the deck. Use the APC as a meat shield whilst your other units actually kill things. Alright, so the APC finally goes down. Normally I would have tried to replace my APC by now, but I'm pop capped, so that's why I haven't made another APC. If I could, I would have made another APC when this one got to about 50%. But all he really did was kill one APC for like 3 Mohawks and didn't even kill the missiles, so...
Enemy base destroyed.
Pretty easy win there for the APCs.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, up against Bob 2, and as you can see from the difference in font, he's also got a different font, which is pretty exciting. So he's opened Wheels before Harvester, and he's playing Kane. So Kane means either, usually it means like either like the setup Tick Tank style deck, or it means someone loves Kane, which is fair enough because Kane's amazing, or it means Tech, and they want something that they're used to playing Tech mirrors, and they want a command power that wins in the Tech mirror. So at the moment I'm leaning towards Tech, although Tech decks usually play Militant instead of Wheel. So I'm not sure. Okay, Flamers. So against Flamers we have to go straight into Drone Swarm. I'd rather go War Factory, but I can't fight Flamers with my War Factory. Like, I'd need to save up for an APC, which is way too expensive, so I go Air Tower instead. Now we need to be careful with our Drone Swarm and missiles, so that we can defend the Drone Swarm from the bites. Probably get one Orca here. We'll get one Orca to try and take out some bites quickly. And we'll turret over here. Over here. We should win this missile pretty easily here. Yep, there we go. Kind of expecting a second half now, given that he had Flamers. And he's playing Kane. These things make me think he's probably got some tech units in his deck. More Flamers. Alright, back up. As long as we're charging the missile, I'm happy. Like, I don't need to be contesting this one. Scavenger, very interesting. Really not sure what this guy is actually playing right now. We're gonna definitely want to get an APC out though. There's a Banshee. Alright, so the Banshee is now... I'm now thinking maybe he isn't tech, or if he is, it's like a single tech unit. Because we've already seen what? Scavenger, Flamer, Bike. Now Tick Tank. Okay, so it was Tick Tank. I did actually say at the start that it could be Tick Tank build. And that would appear to be the case. So it is a Tick Tank deck, so it's almost certainly not going to be Double Harvester now as well. So the game, as you can see, the game's about to end. I'm just trying to lock out his Tick Tank and stop the Banshee, because the Banshee is the only thing that can get on the pad. Obelisk comes down a bit too late to be relevant, so it was just a Tick Tank deck. Not sure why he has Flamers. I don't really think Flamers are very good.
Objective complete. 3.
Okay, so we're up against Jim Bob, playing Oksana. Not much of a tell from Oksana. Oksana is just, yeah, Oksana can be all kinds of things. Wheel opening is a little bit telling. Wheel opening means probably not tech. It's not a guarantee, of course. You can never be 100, like, you never be sure. Some tech decks are like wheel, rifle, bike, something to get a really cheap early game. So it could be that. The fact he's opened double wheel though, he's gone wheel, harvester, wheel. This makes me think it's probably a Fnatic deck. That's usually what that means. If we see another wheel, yeah, there's a Fnatic. I was gonna say if we see another wheel, it's probably a chemical buggy deck. But the Fnatic's wheel Fnatic is a very standard opening. Here come the bikes, of course. So now again, we just need to play the game of kill the infantry whilst protecting our drone swarm from bikes. So that's what we're gonna try and do. We're trying to get this drone swarm down here. I think we should just win this missile. We just have so many units on the field. Yeah, we just had so many units left over still. Alright, so I don't like being Air Tower War Factory, Air Tower Barracks against Fnatic decks. I think it's very bad. I'd much rather be in my War Factory. The reason to not go War Factory immediately is that you really struggle to kill the Fanatics with your War Factory, because you need to get the APC out. So based on the units we've seen so far, it's almost certainly the Agent Shadow deck, which is the Stealth Tank Shade Fnatic deck. Now this deck is actually a little bit weak to APCs. Because all of their units are burst fire, like these stanks, for example. All of their units are like high damage, low hit points, trying to burst down your units, and APC is very, very strong against that because it has so many hit points. So you can punish them by making their APCs not efficient. Or sorry, making their stealth tanks not efficient, because it's very hard to get 100 value out of a stealth tank in this matchup. And as you can see, we kill one stealth tank, he can make one more, but he's just out of money, because the stealth tanks are so expensive and they're just not that good against this deck. The later this game goes, the better it gets for me as well, because I can just make tons of APCs, and it's pretty hard for them to kill APC efficiently.
3, 2, 1.
Alright, so we're up against Big Daddy. Great name. He's playing Solomon. Now, that means either tech, and he wants a commander that beats tech, or it means aggro, aggro, aggro. The fact he hasn't built a unit yet makes me think it's not aggro. Normally the Solomon tech deck, normally the Solomon aggro would open dogs before Harvester. But I haven't seen a second Harvester or a building, so I don't want to make a second unit yet. I'm dancing on and off the pad to see what he makes. He might open something really expensive like a Razorback here, given that he hasn't done anything. Yep, there it is. Like that long with him doing nothing means he's opening something weird. So I like to wait with my money so I can immediately respond to whatever it is. Alright, so it was a Razorback. Razorback has been massively nerfed now. It's so much worse than it used to be. So I'm able to just run it down with this one Pitbull. It still kills one of my rifles, but yeah, because he spent all his opening money on the Razorback, he couldn't afford the missiles. Now, this matchup is actually not that bad. When the Razorback was super OP, this matchup sucked because Razorback was too strong. But the main way to beat Razorback decks is to have a way to kill missiles that doesn't die to Razorback. And this deck has APC. So this deck can absolutely kill Razorback, can kill missiles without having to fight Razorbacks. What we're going to do is we're going to get the APC to take out the missiles, and we're going to have the Pitbull clean up the Razorback. Oops, I just mistargeted there. Get the APC to finish it off. Yep, there we go. So we see a double Harvester there, so we want to be charging. So it is a tech deck as well. It's a tech deck. That's why he's Solomon, because it's tech Solomon. The main thing is just to keep this missile charging. We just don't want this game to go on more than 2 minutes. If the game goes past 2 minutes, it gets bad for us. So this turret isn't a very good turret. This was a super aggressive turret to prevent these missiles from getting down to this bottom pad, because I just want to finish the game before 2 minutes, and it looks like we're going to. I mean, I don't even care about Zion Cannon. I'm going to ignore it because it's a killer missile. And there you go.
Mission accomplished.
Okay.
3, 2,
We're up against Nakey.
new objective available.
I'm guessing is K-Shush's alter ego. And again, Oksana doesn't really give us much information. Oksana could be almost anything. Okay, laser opening means probably flamers in the deck. It's very unusual to open laser if you don't have flamers as your other infantry unit. And probably double half as well, because most of the time people who play flamers have double half. And there's the flamers, as expected.
Unit ready.
So we're going to get a 2v1 and we're going to go third rifle. We need to tech switch pretty quickly. If they start spamming flamers, the rifles will just lose to them eventually. Yep, here it comes. We're going to go straight into drone swarm. Now, the thing is here, my opponent has spent 80 on flamers, and I've spent 30 on riflemen, and they spent 20 on a laser troop. So even though the flamers force me to tech switch, and I'm often talking about how it's better not to tech switch first, the flamers cost so much that it doesn't matter that I tech switch first, because they can't respond to them. Like, here comes the first bike squadron as the missile ends, because they have no money, because they spent it all on flamer troops. And that is why flamers and shocks are bad. Like, that right there is the real reason these units are bad. Like, other units are better. That is also a large part of it. But the real reason they're bad is that if you go into a barracks opening, your opponent can force you to make 2 of them, and then they can punish you for it by tech switching. Also, the other reason that they're bad is because they're just bad. The stats on the units just aren't very impressive. Okay, so they've gone double harvester now. We want to be charging the pads, so I'm trying to get units on all the pads here. And again, our game plan is get APC, use APC to tank whilst other units kill their stuff. You can see I'm forming this wall at the front of the pad. This is to stop my opponent from getting through. And then we'll move the APC up to fight the lasers, and we'll get another APC over here to replace this drone swarm. There we go. And we'll get on this pad. Yeah, I mean, this is over. Drill pod here. Sorry, not drill pod, turret. And as you can see, we just lock out. We just lock out these 2 pads and the game's over. Don't even need to be on this 3rd pad. Game's just over because we're locking out the back 2.
Objective complete. 3, 2, 1.
Alright. Last game against Asa. So we see Seth. Seth's a bit of a tell. Seth means it's probably an aggressive deck. Very unusual to see Seth in tech. You do sometimes see Seth in tech, but usually people play Oksana to boost their tech unit. So because we're against Seth, I'm actually stalling. I want to stall against Seth because I want to get to all 3 buildings. So I don't want the game to be over quickly. I want to be able to open my War Factory and my helipad. Now, if he is double halve, he's like actually like 5-heading me here. Because by pretending he wants to charge, it makes me want to stall. So if he's actually is like a late game deck, and he's just next leveled me, then that's really well played. Because he's made me believe that he wants to stall the game. So I have played... Sorry, he's made me believe that he wants to charge, so I have been stalling instead. So if he is in fact a late game deck, then very well played to my opponent for doing this. Okay, so anyway, we go in War Factory. I really want to go War Factory with this deck, like as much as possible. I don't want to go Barracks. Sorry, I don't want to go Air Tower. Alright, so he's Sething back here, so I'm going to use the Pitbulls to hold off the flames for a bit. And then we're going to have to go Drone Swarm, probably. So we're going to use the... Well, actually, these flamers are almost dead. We probably don't need to anymore. Yeah, we can probably just go APC. I want to lose these riflemen so I can replace them with something else. Probably missiles here. I want to get missiles on the middle, but then I want to replace my APC. So I'm going to make missiles and send them down here. And I'm going to use the opportunity to move the APC up. Yeah, here, look at this. This is perfect. So he's brought in rifles to fight my missiles. The APC now comes and fights them. And my missiles bottom have killed the bikes that are trying to go around there. So this worked out exactly as I wanted, basically. Alright, nice. So we're going to take first missile here. We've got an APC set up, which is like the dream. You really just want to get the APC set up and then defend it. So now we're going to do the classic defense of the APC, which is usually to just micro Pitbulls nearby. So these bikes don't do a great job against APC or Pitbull. So them fighting both at the same time, they get super wrecked. And he spent a lot of money on drill pods. Oh, here's a tank. Okay, so the thing about tank is, this is why Orca is in the deck. You have Orca in the deck specifically to kill tanks. Well, and Gigas. Tank Giga MLRS is why Orca's in the deck. And I guess if your opponent is playing tech, then Juggernaut and Artillery as well. But primarily it's there to kill tanks, because tanks are one of the few ways to really punish an APC. Most decks can't really kill an APC efficiently. Decks with tanks can. So this APC is about to die, that's why I'm replacing it. I'm getting fresh APC because that one was about to die. I bring this up, I'm going to move these out of the way so I can drill pod, and I should just win the game here. So anyway, as I was saying, you make Orca pretty much just to fight, like, anti-vehicle vehicles. It's also in the deck to kill tech units, because there's a bunch of tech units you can't kill without Orca. But really, you want to go War Factory and then go Orca when there's something that the Orca wants to target. The only time you want to go Air Tower in this deck is Drone Swarm if your opponent has heavy infantry, or Orca if they have heavy vehicles that you need to kill. You don't really want to make Orca against light vehicles if you can help it. Alright, so there's 10-0 with the APC deck. This is a very popular deck right now. This is potentially the best GDI deck in the game at the moment. It's the one I've been playing the most. My win rate with it is pretty great. It's like 90%. I think the deck is very strong. I think at the moment this is my favorite GDI deck in the metagame. This is the one I would recommend the most. And the key facets to playing it are you want to make an APC and then you want to defend it. Like you want to make sure that your opponent loses a lot of value every time they try and break through the 3,300 hit points of the APC. So the APC shouldn't be 1v1ing things. It should be fighting things whilst it has support units helping it out. And that's what's absolutely critical about this deck. There are some decks you can beat by just making tons of APCs, but usually 80 cost APC is too expensive. If your opponent has a way to break it easily, then that strategy won't work. So you need to get value out of your APC by killing the units that are killing the APC. That's the key facet to the deck. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Haven't done a spotlight video in a while, so thank you to Copycat for this one. And I will see you guys next time.